welcome everybody. It's the Shills and it's Ukraine Update Thursday live stream where we go into all things that pertain to Russia's bullshit actions against Ukraine. We got Operator Starsky here, Clapperjack's joining us in a second, Aimee and Mipet and Fallacy Dave are here, so we're just going to get right into it. Hand it over to Operator Starsky and he's going to start us off. How you doing today, buddy?
Hey bro, doing fine, more or less. Very nice to see you tonight. Regarding the news that you may have missed today, maybe not, Snake Island is liberated. And according to Russian Ministry of Defense, it was a gesture of a goodwill. And I think that a gesture of a goodwill in this case is synonymous to receive a butt kick. Anyways, the Snake Island is liberated, and I remember that Russian ideologist Dugin on February 24th probably said that whoever controls the Snake Island will control the destiny of the upcoming world and blah blah blah. So okay, anyways, and Ka-52 Russian helicopter, that marvelous flying tank which flew over Snake Island later today, was shot down. Probably mouse, I don't know. In Belarus, we have received information that in Belarus there's this covert mobilization is ongoing, and probably they are preparing for another attempt to use Belarusian troops in Ukraine, and we will see. The possibility of Belarusian intervention is low, I would say, but we gotta be prepared anyways. The chief of Ukrainian Air Force today explained why Russians still use those old Soviet-made missiles like X-59, X-22 is because they are wasting their supply of most modern missiles, and they cannot bring new missiles. They cannot develop or produce new missiles because they lack details and parts for those missiles that were obviously purchased in other countries like China and a bunch of European countries as well. Mm-hmm. But of course, those missiles are still dangerous, and X-22 is one of most dangerous Russian missiles. It carries about 900 kilograms of explosives. So you can imagine that it can make a lot of harm. In Lysychansk, the situation is still pretty complicated, but it's under control. Serhiy Haidai, chief of military administration of Donetsk region, said that Russians approached the suburban area of Lysychansk, and he said that they are being kept there by Ukrainian fire, but there are no street fights in Lysychansk as of this moment. And as for the good news, President Zelensky today announced that on 1st of July, he will tell us some good news regarding European Union. Probably we will hear something positive regarding this. We will see.
That would be such an unbelievable announcement to hear, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That would be great. We got a latecomer in. Aaron Reece is, I guess graced us with his presence. Just joking here. How's it going, Aaron? Glad to have you, buddy.
Going all right. My system timed a full crash just right in time before I could join, so I'm recovering from that right now.
The worst timing, right?
Starsky.
You know, sometimes I think Windows and Google conspire to do this, to do it to us on purpose, right? Just to get in there and get the jab. But I know we've already got the questions lighting up and stuff, but before we get into it, we should, amongst ourselves, I know there was talk last week, Starsky, about, are they running out of this and that and so on. And, even if they don't, even if Russia doesn't have its top ordnance in this area and that area and so on, every time all the time, even older stuff still makes a big mess of things. Like it's not that much of an advantage just because they don't have that one better one when you're kind of surrounded on three sides with jerk offs everywhere, right?
Yeah, but the idea is that they have to bring their aviation closer to Ukraine because, for example, X-22, from what I remember, has a range of around 600 kilometers. And those other missiles have much greater range. Again, I may be wrong, but that's from what I remember, at least.
True. But if they land, it's all still the same in the end. And well, a lot the same, right? Yeah. Aaron, was there anything you wanted to get into coming into tonight?
Nothing huge right away. The only thing I wanted to ask is if Starsky had seen the footage of the rocket doing a U-turn on that Russian crew.
Yeah, so I don't remember if I had already told you this story. In 2015, I've been to Krasnohorivka. Actually, I was talking about it in one of my recent videos. And I was looking through a hole in the wall, which was made by Russian tank, and the tank was shooting from Donetsk directly. And I was looking through this hole at Donetsk, right? And one of the bystanders told me that this hole was made by Ukrainian NATO-made top secret missile, and I was like, what the heck? And he's like, yeah, so Ukrainian army uses those NATO missiles that make U-turn and crash into them. So now we see that those missiles are actually made by Russians. So one way or another, we know whom to blame.
Yeah, that they released footage and you can see it go off and it goes maybe 100 meters and then just straight U-turns back, and it's like 4th of July at my cousin's, man. It just lights up sparks and shrapnel everywhere. That's Russian manufacturing, all right.
Indeed.
And I think Russian missile was too scared to go to Ukraine, so it decided to go back.
Hell, I would be. And then again, maybe if they bought it from China, it'd work right. But anything coming directly out of Russia is just, you can account for the missing pieces of it in an oligarch's bank account.
Yeah. Well said. There's a question here. It was right off the tip of my tongue, so I might as well credit Lawrence Daniels in the chat. Do you think Belarus will join the war?
It might join the war, but the fact is that if they could join the war, by now they would already do that. And the reason why Belarus hasn't joined the war yet was because, again, we probably talked about it already, but Lukashenko made an assessment of his contract soldiers regarding, in order to find those soldiers who want to basically join Russian forces in Ukraine, but nobody applied. and this assessment regarding to our intelligence was made couple of times already, and both times they failed. So that's the reason why they didn't join yet. But again, we will see. Maybe they have something changed in their plans. Maybe they're going to come up with something new.
The reason it was on the tip of my tongue is I do seem in the last like 5 days to have seen it being mentioned in Western news a bit more than it was maybe 30 days ago. And I mean, in speaking to yourself, I don't expect that to be the case. So I never really truly read the articles very much. I mean, how much can you ingest? But it seems like people are talking about it a bit more, I think. We got another latecomer. Hey, our Belarusian brother over in Poland right now. Clapperjack is here. He's muted in meets, but he'll get it. Yeah, there it is. How's it going, buddy?
Hello, hello. Sorry for being late.
No worries. Good to have you, pal. Good to have you. How's things over there? You doing well?
Yeah, doing well. Just a little bit, woozy. Because it's really, really hot. And it's without air conditioning, this is kind of insufferable, but
We're getting hammered right now too. I actually got the ACs in the last couple of days. We just hit 40 C for the first time here where I live. Our summers get warm, but it's desert dry, so it's not thick. It's not as bad as it sounds, right?
That leads me into a question, if I may.
Please.
Yeah, I remember. It's easy to forget all these little details throughout the war. At the very beginning, they were saying about how the Russian tanks would get bogged down in certain Ukrainian soils in winter. Is it now going to be a different war now that it's going into the summer?
Probably yes. On the other hand, we have a lot of trees, bushes, and leaves and stuff. So it depends. In winter, it's harder. It's harder to move your vehicles across the territory, unless we're talking about roads. And in summer, yeah, you can basically move your vehicles anywhere, but there might be an ambush somewhere, so it depends.
Clapperjack, yeah. Seems we got one of those damn trolls in the chat.
I just kind of wanted to say that, the terrain can be in our countries because of the snow. It kind of, when it's early spring and kind of like the beginning of winter, the ground, it both freezes and unfreezes. And at the same time, it kind of like mixes with the snow and it becomes this nasty ass sludge. And, driving with a tank through that can be a disaster. That's why they've been, bogged down. But during summer, no, not really. Everything's dry as hell.
Yeah, that's exactly what I heard. My mute button was messing up then. I don't know what's going on.
A lot of people don't realize how heavy an investment taking a tank in was. Even during World War I, it wasn't great, but it was a lot simpler. But you can't just roll tanks through. You have to have infantry to defend them, or people on foot can just sneak up, take them out from behind or to the bottom. And then when we went into Iraq, we saw a little bit of it in Afghanistan, but big time in Iraq, we had tanks breaking down left and right, and we had mechanics on them constantly, and we have money that we put into our military. The Russians aren't putting anything in, so they don't have what's required to really do a heavy push with tanks. I think they're going to die early.
So here in Ukraine, everything wants to kill invaders, even nature, because between the seasons, you cannot move your freaking tanks. In summer, you have plenty ambushes, and in winter, you cannot make a trench. So yeah.
Hey, go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, there's also this little thing, right? I'm not sure how it's done in Europe and in America or in Canada, for instance, but fields, right? our countries, like the eastern kind of Europe, it has a massive amounts of rivers, and because of that, you can't really cross that river with a tank. You either need to build a bridge, because the existing bridges might not actually be able to hold a tank at all, because those are like old or not maintained properly or whatever. So some of them are even made of wood. And there's also a thing, if a tank is driving through a field, let's say, like whatever, what our countries usually do, they make these lines through the fields, through which water is collected or like being driven from rivers through the fields to like kind of have this natural irrigation thing. And a tank can definitely get stuck in that shit.
This is true also in Ukraine. Our country is created, or it consists of oblasts. Oblast. So oblast
Region.
is like a state, like a region, okay? And there's 25 of them. Each state is separated from another state by a river. Also, we have a bunch of regional centers, because each regional center, each oblast, this state consists of plenty region, like mini regions, districts, and each district is also separated by a river, and there's 130 something of them.
I remember they were trying to come in from the northwest and dropping in pontoon bridges, and you guys just kept blasting the hell out of the things to keep them out. It's been, what, a month and a half back that was going on?
Yeah, Belgorodka, as far as I remember, there was also such a case in Moshchun during the first month of invasion. My guys actually were there, and there was the same case. They tried to make a bridge over the river, and they tried to do that multiple times, and multiple times they failed. So they never crossed that river in a month.
Sounds like trying to invade Montana here. It's called the River State. They're everywhere, so forget taking a tank through that. We got a few questions lined up. You want me to go start hitting those, Dick?
Absolutely, man. Take it. It's kind of, your thing at this point, really.
Putting me in charge of anything's a bad idea, but here we go. From Julie Astorp, have you heard about the Russian Killnet cyber attack on Norway? I think they did it because of the ongoing conflict between Norway and Russia.
Yeah, I've heard about that, and there's a lot of conflicts between Norway and Russia. I remember that only in like past decade there were like hundreds of cases when Russian aviation was interfering with their territory, and they were intercepted plenty of times. And there was one case, one Russian submarine was spotted near the shore of Norway, I think, and it was spotted by multiple witnesses. I think probably like 4 years ago or something like that.
It seems like Russia just likes to antagonize anybody it has a common border with, because like I said, they've been doing flyovers over Alaska, poking at us for a while now. Let's see, we've got Brimner's Ghost at Operator Starsky. Can you comment on the bridge near Kyiv that blew up after being hit by lightning?
Yeah, so apparently there was some kind of IED planted. Maybe even it was planted by our armored forces, because we are preparing to meet Belarusians here. Maybe not. I don't know those details, but there was some kind of IED. Maybe it was unspotted. Maybe it was unseen, by our engineers. And because of the lightning strike, it exploded and damaged the bridge. On the other hand, of course, I can assume that because the bridge collapsed, probably this IED was planted there on purpose. So, you cannot destroy a whole bridge by just dropping a bunch of explosives on it or around it.
Yeah, it has to be strategically located for demolition. Was anybody killed or any military forces damaged?
Not from what I know, but I gotta say that this thunderstorm scared the crap out of me and other people, because I saw lightning like just outside of my window, like a huge flash of light, and then this thunder. And in Ukraine, we hear more explosions from missiles rather than thunder strikes. And yeah, a lot of people here were scared by a simple thunderstorm, which is crazy.
Well, it
Wow.
looks like God's on your side too if he detonated that sucker before it could injure anybody. Let's see. We've got the next one is from Tenuvane at Operator Starsky. So Russia is recruiting from Transnistria, raised the age limit to 65 and no longer has to fully train conscripts from high school. Does it seem like Russian forces are having trouble with supplies and recruiting new troops?
Yeah, they had such problems already a couple of months ago. I remember that from one of those intercepted calls that were made by Russian commissary to his colleague. He said that they are struggling in healing their units that lost men in combat on the territory of Ukraine. So they're struggling in finding new contract soldiers for already months. And of course, we can see that like people from Moscow, people from St. Petersburg, we're talking about their major cities, rich cities, they don't really want to fight. So they're enlisting people from distant areas, a lot of people from Buryatia. And by the way, recently we saw a video, it's on YouTube actually, depicting a bunch of wives of those combat Buryats that were addressing president of Russian Federation, and they were asking to bring their husbands back because they're exhausted and they don't want to fight.
I wouldn't either. Who wants to go out and fight for a bunch of idiots that are just going to use you for fodder? Actually, I had a question kind of related to that, and it was from a video you did a little over a week ago, but it got lost in the shuffle last week. You were talking about Russia. They were effectively annexing the areas that they controlled on the Western Front, and that they had offices where you could go in and sign up for citizenship. Are they seeing a lot of people turn up at those, or are they just basically like the local spitting on the idea of becoming Russian?
According to a woman who was interviewed in that line of people who were willing to receive citizenship, there is about 20 people per day who apply for this citizenship, which is not a lot considering the fact that there's hundreds, thousands of people living in Kherson and Novokakhovka as well, and Melitopol and other cities. The fact is that, of course, some people would like to apply because a lot of Ukrainians have relatives in Russia and vice versa. So that's that's normal, I think. A bunch of people would like to receive Russian citizenship or residency even prior to this invasion, even after 2014 when this war started. So it's natural, I think.
So, Mike, and you might not know, you might know this or not. Would it be considered a dual citizenship where they were still a Ukrainian citizen despite being, an annexed territory? Would Ukraine consider them dual citizens, both Ukrainian because they were Ukrainian but annexed unwillingly, as well as Russian so that they could get access to their family?
The thing is that you can only have one citizenship, like in Ukraine or in Russia, but it doesn't work this way. So you can basically have two, from what I know. It's not kind of legal, but you can do that.
Okay, so it's just kind of they're skirting by because of the war situation. Yeah, because I know a lot of countries don't. Like Japan, you cannot do dual citizenship, but in America you can, especially if you have one parent from one country and one from another. Let's hit a couple more questions. We've got one from Sweet704. Oh, sorry.
One sec. We got to get Aimee in for a couple of the supers because they're getting so far back in the YouTube chat, I can't pull them up on screen.
All right.
Yeah, if we could please, that'd be great. Thank you so much. I've got Streamlabs, since it just tipped Canadian $13.60. Thank you so much. We've got Marco Endler for €5 who says, how do you feel about the events surrounding Snake Island? Is the island now permanently liberated? And then we've got Paolo Corradini who for €20 as well, who says, who has a pair character, and he's saying, you are amazing. Thank you so much, Paolo. And then Decula03 just tipped Canadian $12.87. Thank you so much for that. We also have a donation for $25 Canadian from Autistic Shill, who says, thank you for all you do, Starsky. Decula did have no message, so yes. And we also have SS as a new member. Welcome to Shill Apprentice and welcome to the Shill family. Thank you so much.
Woohoo. All right. Thanks, everybody. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I'll scroll it back for you, Starsky, so we can go to the Snake Island question here. And I can't bring it up anymore. I hope you remember it better than I do. Oh, here it is. Yeah. How do you feel about the events surrounding Snake Island? Is the island now permanently liberated?
I think we can talk about this after Russians are no more present in Ukraine, because they still have a bunch of their troops carrying vessels that they can use to capture it back. And it's kind of hard to keep this island defended because it's a very small island. It's the size of I don't know, a very small village actually. So it's gonna be very hard to keep it. I think that probably it will be deserted for a while. Maybe some equipment will be brought there. I don't know. I'm not a how do you say it? I'm not on the level of answering this question.
Yeah, it's hard to say right now because they weren't beaten out, they've gone. So, could it be regrouping tactics, so on and so forth? There must be so many angles, right?
Yeah, sure. But the main idea was that they were bringing, at the beginning they brought and created a command center on the Snake Islands. It was destroyed. Then they brought a bunch of their troops and they were destroyed, eliminated. Then they brought a bunch of anti-air defense like measures, like anti-air systems. and those were destroyed as well. But I must say that I think that those anti-air measures were the most dangerous from what they had there, because they could destroy our airplanes as well as our missiles. So yeah, I think that getting rid of their anti-air systems on the Snake Island was one of the best ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of factors to that being good. Absolutely. Aaron, I know you got a few queued up, so back to you, buddy.
Yeah. Let's see. From Suite 70433, the one that everybody checks on weekly. Operator Starsky, any news on the Crimea Bridge attack?
This is becoming a drinking game, surely.
Yeah, I mean, it's the damn thing's hard to reach until you guys get some weaponry in. I think that should be the first thing that you say when you come in is we don't have long-range rockets yet. We can't get to it because it's in nasty territory. You're going to need something longer range to reach it because you can't go within the reach of their naval forces without such a significant risk. But, I mean, it's waiting for that package that's going to let you blow it to hell.
Guys, I honestly protest against destroying this bridge. First of all, because my life will become very, very boring without it. Second is I would like to see this bridge intact when we liberate Crimea, because we have to leave some kind of path for Russians to retreat, right? So I protest against destroying the Crimean bridge.
I would think that you would protest against giving the Russians any way to get out when you had them on the run, but that's just my opinion on it. All right, then we've got Sergey, another regular. At the Shills, I have heard rumors of a new NATO aid package, which includes something like 500 tanks, 600 artillery pieces, and 600,000 shells. Is that true?
I don't know the detail, honestly, because today I tried to sleep a lot, which I failed. But from what I know, we've been promised as much help as we need in terms of vehicles and missiles and artillery. So probably we will see that, of course, because currently we need a lot of artillery. We still don't have equal force to combat Russian artillery, unfortunately, even despite the fact that we are using those HIMARS missiles very precisely. Again, the biggest difference between Ukrainian and Russian artillery is that Russians use their artillery in order to kill as much personnel as they can. And our artillery is mostly used to make, those sniper shots, destroying their command headquarters, destroying their supply lines, and killing important Russian commanders.
Yeah, because I believe it's still done this way. It's been a little while since I've read deeply on artillery, but you've got anti-armor rounds, which is sort of thing you drop in on a tank, and then you've got anti-personnel that's more about scatter. And the Russians seem to love anti-personnel actions. And you've talked about before, they keep hitting, like this hit the subway last week, and they keep hitting civilian targets. Are they aiming the rocket and artillery attacks, or are they just lobbing it and letting it hit where it hit?
It's a very good question. Probably they were targeting some other places, but because those missiles are Russian high precision weapons, they kind of often miss and hit other structures. For example, in Hostomel, the missile that exploded on our base, I think they tried to hit our headquarters, but because it was modern Russian missile. It missed and it exploded. Damn it! How you call the place where soldiers have their formation? The
barracks?
Yeah.
not the barracks.
The
like in
parade
front of barracks.
grounds generally is one of them. There's some of them, they're just called paddocks. They're just concrete areas.
Look at Aaron Reece just became the Tesla Model Plaid. Did you see that?
Yikes!
That was interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you, OBS.
What the hell happened there, right?
God.
You steering with a yoke now, or do you still got a steering wheel? Just auto joking.
But they're generally called the parade grounds wherever you form up, at least for formal ones, and they've got paddocks and other areas where they do kind of practice or daily formation.
Yeah. So we have only one of those. Like it serves multiple purpose. So the missile exploded on that square. Okay. So I think that the answer to your question. So their missiles are rarely precise, and they go wherever they want to go. On the other hand, I think they've already destroyed a bunch of trade centers like that one in Kremenchuk. They have destroyed one in Vorzel, one in Kiev. Actually, it was a very big trade center. Luckily, they destroyed it in the night, or rather early in the morning. I think they can target specifically those places where people gather in big groups, like trade centers.
Okay, yeah, because when you look at it kind of from a strategic sense, a military sense, it doesn't make any sense to hit a lot of the targets that they're going after unless they're just trying to kill people. They're not trying to capture any areas and move forward on it. Okay.
Yeah, so at first you gotta, like, before launching a missile, you obviously gotta conduct some kind of reconnaissance of the area, right? And you gotta have plenty of planning. So you gotta use some kind of recon troops that are located somewhere in that area, so they could assess the area, so they could send pictures of the object to their headquarters in Russia. This is how it works in normal armies, I think. So yeah, in my opinion, they could definitely target this trade center specifically, as well as subway station, because again, they have hit a bunch of those already. 1, 2 is a coincidence. 3 doesn't look like coincidence to me.
Yeah,
that's hard to fail into. We've got some super chats lined up. I'm going to hand off to Aimee while I see why my camera just turned into a potato.
That's brilliant. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. We do have some super chats lined up for us. We have the first one from Level 70 for Canadian $13.99, who says, at Operator Starsky, General Kirilo Budanov is still predicting August for the turning point of the war in Ukraine's favor. Do you agree with that assessment, despite what is happening in Donbas? And then Tanuvain just tipped us Canadian $6.44. Thank you so much. And then Lisa for 20 American dollars says, Starsky, will any of your future videos feature Max's butt? Love from New Hampshire, USA. I love it. And then Marco Endler for €5 says, hi, Starsky. I think the mobilization in Belarus is a big bluff to force negotiations with Ukraine, or do you think they really go to war? And then we also, for the Canadian $6.44 from Tanuvain, says, it seems like Russia has a lot of forces north of Slovyansk right now. Do you think they will attack the city itself? And if so, when? Also, have you seen the Panzer Haubitze in use? Thank you so much, everybody.
Okay, so the first one was regarding Kirill Budanov's forecast of this war. You gotta understand that there are different levels of access to information. For example, soldier has his specific opinion on the situation, but he doesn't know all the information that his sergeant knows. So sergeant knows a bit more information than the soldier, but his officer knows more information because his officer knows information on the level of his platoon and his company. And the commander of the company knows information on the level of his battalion and stuff. We don't have access to information on level of Budanov because Budanov is a chief and probably he knows something. So unfortunately, I cannot comment that. As for the maxes, but I think that is OnlyFans closed? Or is it still active?
Oh, you know what? I do believe that we could do something in the background, Starsky, and get him up on OnlyFans. There you go.
Yeah. So I gotta learn more about it. And as for Slovyansk, as for Belarus, they could probably do that mobilization in order to have some advantage in terms of upcoming negotiations, of course. Probably it's one of the options. But as a military, I think that we should be prepared for an invasion, even though, in my opinion, it will fail. And the Slovyansk, I cannot predict when Russians are going to attack. Of course, they gather a lot of forces on the north, but there's still a question how will those cross the river? And we have some pretty nice defense in that area.
I want to bring in Commander 401 next. Commander's one of the Shills here, but also helping us out in the background. Commander is seriously talented at all things Blender and 3D rendering and stuff. And you're about to see on the virtual cam the kind of thing that we're going to be bringing to the Shills show probably 5-6 months, because we got to do some computer upgrades and stuff first. Like, we're going to be literally serving the show using the Unreal Engine for anybody that knows what that means. But Commander, how's it going? Welcome. How's things?
Doing well. I had a question about the battle in the Donbas. Russia is depleting the the military age male population, from what I understand, by throwing just civilians at you guys. How much of that is them trying to deplete the population there, and how much of it do you think is actual desperation?
They used them as a cannon fodder pretty much since 2014, from what I remember, because they were mostly used, to guard their positions. They were mostly used again in such attacks in Donetsk airport in 2014, 2015. You probably know the story. So Ukrainian armed forces and our combat volunteers were holding defense of this airport that is located right next to Donetsk city for 242 days. and it was a nasty place actually. And so Donetsk airport was like Severodonetsk strategically. Strategically, it was useless because it was destroyed already. The runway was damaged, of course, but on the operational level, we could make sure that Russians concentrate a lot of their forces in that area, so it would make it easier for us to eliminate them using our artillery. And of course, defenders always have advantage. So they were throwing a lot of those mobilized in Donbas at our positions back in 2015 in that Donetsk airport. That's a common strategy for them. Again, they're throwing such people as mobilized in those uncontrolled territories. They're throwing a lot of them Buryats, Kalmyks, Ossetians, and stuff like that. And by the way, I think that Jack wants to add something.
Oh yeah, about Belarus, right? It's a very difficult situation because on one hand, there's Putin that demands from Lukashenko to, march towards Ukraine. But the thing is, the way that Lukashenko organized sort of the way the country functions, it's absolutely not feasible. And there's a reason for it, because he siphoned all the power that he has in his hands and put it towards the cops, the KGBs, the police, the whatevers, the emergency services, and special forces, whatever. But the military were completely ignored for years. And not only they were ignored for years, the culture of those people that are, kind of like the people that are forced to go to the army, the kids. There was an incident once, and it's kind of common practice. It's just like the only big one that was recorded. A kid was enlisted into the army, right? They took him away to the regional whatever army places, and for a while he was kind of like fine and texting his mom, and he was asking for money constantly, like every week, and she was been working like 3 jobs. So eventually she said, I can't really give you money. Like, I kind of need to live myself. What are you doing over there? How are you burning through so much money? And then his calls became fewer and fewer. And then suddenly the army guys just call her one day and yeah, he hanged himself. And she was like, uh-huh. So she started figuring it out. And then she found out that the people that were enlisted into the army, also younger guys that have been there for 2 years, it's kind of like a structure thing. They've been abusing the kid by the order of the general that was siphoning all the money out of those kids. And it was kind of like this pyramid scheme. And he was on vacation somewhere, just riding around town, and and then it became a really big scandal. But the guy, I don't think he got punished. And this is the kind of people that you're dealing with. And imagine they're not trained. The only thing they know is abuse. And then suddenly they're like, yo, it's time for World War III, bro. How about you go fight those Ukrainians? And they're like, oh shit. Maybe, how about not? How about we don't do that? So,
bro, I think that a lot of our Western listeners will find this story shocking, but to us, I think it's a common thing. And I can say that we had a similar situation in Ukraine that you mentioned about cops. So before the revolution in Ukraine, when we had this completely pro-Russian government and pro-Russian mafiosi president, It's like he's been to jail 3 times and he became a president. How about that?
Yeah.
Ukraine is a country of opportunities. So we had similar situation because we had Minister of Defense who was a citizen of Russian Federation, and he was ex FSB from what I remember, and he completely destroyed our armed forces. Of course, Ukraine didn't need armed forces as a Russian satellite back then, and of course we had much more cops and our special services than those in the army, because we had our protests suppressed and dispersed a lot. We had a very bad situation with freedom of speech and stuff like that. We had our journalists kidnapped, killed. So we had a similar situation, pretty much. So I understand what you're talking about.
And like, not just that, like in the current news, like in the past sort of 20 years, and like even today, like there was an incident where I can't remember from what country they were. There was this couple, right? That just, I think I told the story, I'm not sure, but I'm going to retell it anyway. There was a couple that flew a plane that had a single motor, like those small ones, and they dropped teddy bears into. So they what happened? They came from Europe.
I remember
They
this.
flew
Yes, tell me.
across the country, the entire country, to the center, threw off bears that like parachuted down, then turned around and came back to Europe unharmed. So imagine the state of the. I think they fixed it probably, but just the state of the, like, it could have been a fighter jet. Nobody would have batted an eye.
Yeah, could have been like planes going for big office buildings, American style and whatnot, not teddy bears, right?
And one more thing before I take it to Aimee, like right now, what Belarusians do, they're so screwed. Most of the army munition and like tech, it's mostly Russian, because our stuff is just like ancient, and they like, Putin says do something, do something, and the guy's like, oh shit, what do I do? So instead of rolling out at least anything, at least like the most eroded ancient tech, they put up tanks made out of wood. Like just
it could be not only a fighter jet or something like that. It could be Ukrainian goose infected with some kind of virus. It could be Batman. It could be Ukrainian witch flying on a broom, or whatever. So yeah, that's great.
And something would even catch radar at long distance, and if it's shaped right, you know what I mean? Like I can understand the logic there. We should get to Aimee. I know I'm gonna struggle to get them up here, so let's see what happens. Aimee.
Sure. We've got some super chats here that are really good. We've got one from Mary Maddie for $20 American, says, Starsky, thank you for your health update on your channel. Samantha Williams for New Zealand, $34.99, says, I'm at work, unfortunately, so can't stay long, but wanted to quickly send some love and support to Starsky and everyone else. Thank you so much. And then we have thank you for 50 Danish krona, says, thank you on your update on your health. You're looking good in shorts. Okay. Thank you so much. Level 70 with Canadian $6.99 says, were you surprised Russia released many of the Azov-style defenders? Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much. As for my update on my health, I have no idea why I look like crap on the camera. I think I gotta walk shirtless all the time. So as for Azov steel defenders, I think that again, Russians speak a lot. a lot of crap regarding not willing to exchange them, but they have to because we also have a lot of their prisoners, their conscripts that are not there, so to say. And interesting thing is that their Kadyrovites are being exchanged like instantly for some reason. So they want their Kadyrovites back so bad. So they are ready to exchange them for like numerous Ukrainian soldiers. I think in order to save, image of those mighty Russian warriors.
We should I just want to turn to Aimee because we did miss a Streamlabs tip that came in. I just put it in the bottom of the list there.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I must have missed that when I was reading the others. We've got one from Junebug72 that donated Canadian $12, says thank you. And thank you as well, Junebug. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. Sorry, 401. Go ahead there.
What is a Kadyrovite? Give us some context, please.
So there was a war in Chechnya. Actually, there were like two wars in Chechnya. When Chechen people that were occupied by Soviet Union, and after collapse of Soviet Union, they kind of automatically became part of Russia. So they wanted to receive their independence because Chechen people were occupied many years ago, even before the Soviet Union, I think by their Queen Ekaterina or something. But yeah, they wanted to have their independence, so they declared independence, and they separated from Russian Union. Russians brought a lot of their troops. They had this attack on capital city of Chechen Republic of Ichkeria, I think on the New Year, and their Maikop brigade that participated in this attack was literally destroyed by Chechen forces, even though they were in minority. Because Chechnya is just about the size of Kiev Oblast. And there was, so Russians took a lot of casualties, like a lot. Not as much as in Ukraine, but still. And they had to move out from Chechnya. Another interesting thing is that they used Russian tank crews to create something similar to this fake referendum in Donbas. So they used Russian tank crews to create a rebellion, to make it look like a rebellion of Chechens who wanted to stay with Russia, Absolutely same situation as in Donbas. Of course, a lot of them were captured, and they were shown on camera that actually they were Russian soldiers who pretended they were Chechens. But long story short, Second Chechen War, when Putin became a president, he destroyed his own civilians by demolishing a bunch of houses in Russian cities. And this way he made it look like Chechens were so crazy to attack Russia. So they decided to start another campaign against Ichkeria. And this time it was successful. Why? Because this time they managed to buy a bunch of, let's say, warlords local warlords in Chechnya. One of those warlords was Kadyrov himself. So Kadyrov betrayed President Dudayev and joined Russian forces. And with his help, they managed to take Chechnya. And later, Dudayev was eliminated. Unfortunately, his generals were eliminated by Russian troops, by FSB. Again, they were a minority. We're talking about hundreds of soldiers. Brave, courageous, but yeah, unfortunately. A lot of them went to Europe, where they lived for decades after that war. Kadyrov became very, very rich, so he became the supreme warlord in Chechnya. Russia controlled Chechnya. He was bought, actually. City of Grozny was literally destroyed by Russian artillery and aviation. It looked like Mariupol today. But Russians gave Kadyrov enough money to rebuild Chechnya. And basically, he is Putin's dog. Actually, he will do whatever he is commanded. And Kadyrovites are his mighty troops. There's a legend about those Kadyrovites. So Russians are afraid of them, even in Moscow, because, for example, it's a frequent case when those Chechens have a wedding in the center of Moscow. They shoot guns and shit like that, but nobody wants to stop them because they are afraid of them. They are often get away unpunished, and I think that Jack can add something to that.
Yeah, Clapper.
Yeah, because Chechens, they well, not all of them, but like a significant part of them believes in Islam, and when they have this kind of like a what's it called, blood feud, when it's really complicated. Their relationships with people, if you if you're gonna get up in their face, let's put it this way, you might regret it. That's why Russians are kind of like trying to let do their thing. And not to mention, like, about this whole lapdog thing. Yes, that's true, because not a lot of people remember the guy that was opposing Putin. The only person that might have been able to actually knock him off his throne was Boris Nemtsov, and he talked a lot of shit. And he was talking to a point where some Chechens just kind of like did a drive-by and just shot him in the back. And that kind of just like never really took off. Like, it's just like, oh, he got murdered, whatever. So nobody got punished, really, I believe. I think there was an investigation, and I think they caught the guy, but it was yeah.
He got murdered. Yeah. There's just such a crazy description, right? But it's sad but true. I get it. Yeah.
Funniest thing, that he was shot right at the Kremlin, and right next to the Kremlin. And come on, like, you're really telling me that nobody, like, people around Kremlin, like, they know if there's like a feather falls in the wrong place next to the Kremlin, then some dudes just randomly like shot a guy, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true.
I believe
But
that.
we are lucky to have those true Chechens who went to Europe, escaped Russian regime, and currently we have a lot of Chechens who come from Europe to Ukraine and join Ukrainian defenders. We have a battalion of Chechen warriors. I think that you might have seen their video shooting RPGs at Russian tanks in the area of Bucha, that famous video. they are crazy and they are amazing at the same time. And I love them so bad because they are probably the most courageous warriors from everyone I know.
Just question.
Yeah,
The
for-
Kadyriovites are like the TikTok army guys that you talked about, right?
Yeah, so they do a lot of TikToks. The Kadyrov himself has a TikTok, and it's like one of those Russian myths about their mighty warriors, because they have great equipment. They have nice active headphones. They have nice armor and expensive gear that other soldiers will not be able to buy anymore. And yeah, they're usually brought to some areas to stage some picture on a camera. For example, about 2 or 3 months ago, they made this video of Kadyrovites in Mariupol disseminating humanitarian aid, and they published this video online, and people noticed that this humanitarian aid that was allegedly brought from Chechnya, because Kadyrov stated that his mother herself ordered to bring this humanitarian aid from Chechnya and Russia to Ukraine, to people of Mariupol. So people noticed that sausages and sugar and flour in that video, those titles are in Ukrainian. And like, what the hell? It appeared, it turned out actually. So they robbed one of the humanitarian convoys that was heading towards Mariupol, and they disseminated this humanitarian aid on behalf of Kadyrov's mom.
I think they're Robin Hood. Those can't even afford armor to fit their chubby guts, or in that one picture that you posted.
It looks like Clapper's waiting.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Jack.
I just wanted to add that, Kadyrovites, they are mostly tough guys in their own home. It's kind of like the same with my country. The guys that surround Lukashenko, they're only tough when they're being, when they're dealing with unarmed people, with the most meek and the people that are not going to fight back. Then they can be so cool and tough and exercise their power as much as they want and be But as soon as it spills out, the way that I understood it, this whole war that allowed me to understand this, as soon as it spills out beyond the borders of this little chunk of land that they inhabit, that's it. All of that toughness evaporates instantly, like water on a hot sidewalk.
They're basically a military gang from the sounds of it, just doing it for clout.
Very much.
Let's see. Do we want to hit some more viewer questions?
Yeah, well, we've got a couple of super chats. I'm not sure if Amy's back from her cup of tea. Sometimes Ukraine stuff can kind of get on her nerves, and she gets a little worked up, and she'll be muted in the background, cursing and swearing, and then I'll get her son who's on the autism spectrum, like mine is, a little worked up, and before you know it, all hell breaks loose. So after staying, there she is.
Yeah, I had to take a walk a little bit. It's all good. It's all good. It's I think probably I'm just as much like Matthew, more than I realize. So
yeah, me too, man. Me too.
Gotta take in those deep breaths.
Exactly. So we do have a super chat from JT for $9.99 American. Says, thank you, Operator Starsky. I'm wondering if Yankee, the Belarusian warrior, was killed in that strike called in by the recently arrested traitor. Only one fake looking video from him in a while. Oh, I hope not too. Thank you. And that's the only
Um,
one I can see right now. So
Unfortunately, I don't have information on War Stash. I hope that he is fine. From what I know, they keep fighting. And Felicity Dave wants to ask something.
Not straight away. No, please carry on. I was waiting for supers. Don't worry.
That's pretty much it.
Oh, well, I can happily go ahead if there's no more from me.
Please do.
Yeah, roll with the day.
I was going to throw something in there that I was going to try and throw in last week because you mentioned all this heavy topics about talking about the war and whatever. I wanted to go into a lighter topic, but then I realized this could make Starsky just run away from the stream and rage quit. So we didn't mention the rumors that Ukraine might not be able to host Eurovision. How are you coping? Please don't leave us.
I don't know what to say. I mean, I couldn't go. I couldn't visit Eurovision in 2017 because of those damn terrorists, and I have no idea if it's true. If we have to host Eurovision in another country, it's gonna hit me deep in my heart, man. I don't know what to do.
I bet. And especially because I ribbed you a few weeks ago saying, we came second, God, we deserved it. And I don't really care about it. I mean, you obviously deserved to win with such a great track, but we might actually host. This is the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't be I won't be sad if it happens. I mean, then we will have 2 Eurovision in a row, probably.
UK, Ukraine, same thing.
Yeah, nobody cares. You know, the other day I was like chatting with girls in a there's this random chat, you know. So it's like chat roulette only without video.
Oh God, I was gonna say because chat roulette is that thing that everybody invites their grandmother over for, right? You know.
It's just because I'm afraid that they will see my dog and Fuch will steal my audience. So I was chatting with random ladies, and they were like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm from Ukraine," and they're like, "Oh, is it UK?" I'm like,
"It's
no.
Okay."
You just mean
well, you know what? Yeah, you know what that means? That means they're from the southern United States. I'm just kidding.
I didn't want to say anything, but I was thinking it.
Oh, I did that to Aaron on purpose.
Go to hell, Dick. I was just going to say it just means the Ukraine's going to kick the UK's ass on their home turf next time. So just that a little more bittersweet defeat.
Yeah.
Honestly, stunned to come anywhere near the top 25, to be honest. And but bearing in mind, for those who don't know, it's a 26-country final. So it's we're used to like the past couple of years being bottom. So it's like, yeah, okay, that's weird.
I remember when, oh my God, the winner from, Jesus Christ, the girl with the beard.
Conchita Wurst. Austria.
Yeah. I remember when.
Yeah.
I remember when she won the Eurovision. Here in Ukraine, we were kind of okay. In Russia, it was freaking panic. It was a hysteria. A bearded woman. Oh my God! I think they had butt hurt for like 2 weeks or so.
Oh yeah, they lost their shit back then.
Oh yeah.
It was a really good track though. like just objectively speaking, it was well performed, great staging. Like it deserved to win. Like it didn't even matter who they were. Russians are funny.
All of the U.S. singing contests are rigged, so I tend not to watch them. They pick the winner from the most charismatic person who cares how well they can sing.
Yeah, I can't watch the American ones because all they're looking for is a pretty face the audience reacts to that they can hook up with a songwriter and so on and so forth and turn them into the next Britney Spears, right? I just can't do that. I want people that learned how to play, learned how to write, and then started writing songs, learned how to perform, and grew up doing it and earn a spot. I don't want somebody that can be taught to dance with a microphone strapped to the side of their fucking head,
Yeah. I remember that in Russia, they were like throwing fireballs out their butts because it's like they were like literally they were like, you see this is gay rope, this is how gay rope looks like, we don't want to join. I think that Klepper can confirm that.
Oh yeah, they it's a big talking point. They don't like the gays. They really don't like them.
No way.
LGBTs and whatever.
You could never tell.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
Beatings and Ah, well.
You go about 40 miles from here and you get the same thing. So. But at least the law stops them from doing psychotic stuff like taking the trial. For now. All right,
okay,
where are we at?
Well, here, there's one I have to clear up. Cats in the chat has got me so confused that I'm feeling like some old dude that doesn't understand, except I know Cats isn't like younger than me, right? But ask Starsky about downloading the Telegram. It is UA. Maybe you can download it yourself. Is it like an app or something? Because Cats in the chat is trying to make it sound like Telegram might be like TikTok, and there's like little news shorts and stuff coming out of Ukraine from like the public and stuff. Maybe Cats is that? Cats is laughing. I think I've already fucked this right up. No, get a microphone, Cats. Ask yourself. Fuck.
Actually, I do know a little bit. Telegram is actually also a messaging app, but it does. You can have groups on it. I use Telegram a lot. That's how I get in contact with a few of my friends. Works really good. But there are groups too. Yes, and I also found some anti-vax groups on there too. So I've been going at them and looking at those, and so we've been finding a lot of interesting things on there.
I'd never heard of it, so I just didn't understand what was being said.
Yeah,
okay, I can actually like tell a really big tale. So like way back when there was this guy, and he's still around. He's Russian, Pavel Durov, and he was the one that created the knockoff version, the Russian version of Facebook way back when, and it gained a lot of popularity in Russia and like ex-USSR countries. So when Maidan happened, and Ukraine tried kind of to free itself from all of this stuff, what Russia did, they were like, okay, so they came to him and they're like, bro, so we kind of need access to these they kind of had like Facebook groups, but like also like groups there on that knockoff site, and they're like, we need access to the communications between the Ukrainians from those groups. And he was like, that's kind of not our business. Like it's a different country. Like what's going on? And he kind of like the thing that happened, he didn't understand the hint, because way back then Russia was kind of not super pushy on this whole dictatorship stuff. But as this whole 2014 thing ramped up, so did the demands from the Russian government. First, they kind of like tried raiding him. They tried, DDoSing him. They tried suing him. They tried everything. They made his life hell. So at some point, he was like, you know what? Screw this. He took all of his team, the development team. he just like sold the knockoff version of Facebook to some government crony guy, whatever, like oligarch, and fucked off to America. And when he got there, for a while he was like a little bit procrastinating because he was like, shocked from this whole shit. And then he was like, you know what? This crap is not going to stop me. He's a multimillionaire. This shit is not going to stop me. I'm still going to make my product, and I'm going to make it great, because the guy is actually talented. He's making fantastic products so far. So he created the messaging app called Telegram. And back then, I actually was the first one that picked up on it, because I was following his kind of like journey in life. And I was like, huh. So I downloaded and I started using it. I was like, back then it was like no different than WhatsApp. But as he kind of like saw what the problems with WhatsApp, he started developing new features, new things, new kind of like growing his servers and everything. And it grew into this kind of like, it really helped. Telegram was it played a humongous part in 2020 election thing in my country, because we used Telegram to circumvent the police, to circumvent propaganda. We kind of like created our own media channels and groups, and we kind of like, because Telegram is really hard to block. When Russia also picked up on it, and before 2020, they also tried blocking it. If you remember, maybe you heard in the news that there was this huge thing where Russia tried blocking something, like it was Telegram, and they had to nuke half of the internet and still didn't succeed. They tried attacking the servers that Telegram was being hosted on, and it was being hosted on Amazon servers back then. And because of that, like Amazon servers, if you block that IP range, a lot of other websites use that IP range, like, I don't know, people that run private businesses, Google, whatever. So by accident, they nuked half of the internet, and Telegram still kept working.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a very powerful tool. And thanks to it, we in Belarusians, we still get information, because we have these little channels. For example, there's this guy that kind of emerged out of this 2020 election thing. His name is Anton Matolko. And I usually, send the links in the news channel. You probably saw Matolko Help. So he is kind of an independent journalist guy that keeps track of all movement of Russian kind of like, because people send him info, he verifies it, double checks, and then he, posts it. And it's a very valuable resource. I really, really suggest you check it out. And not just that, I personally love Telegram because I can have it on my PC and I can have it on my phone. I completely stopped using cables, because there's this feature where you can have a save folder, and you can pretty much send anything there up to 2 gigabytes per file, and then you can exchange between PC and phone.
There's a concern, like there's some people in the chat saying spyware, malware, and whatnot, and probably due to the geographical location of where it was developed, right? But myself, I would want to check it out under like BlueStacks on my computer, where I have a monitor watching all network traffic, so I can see what it's up to. I'm a real hard ass that way, right?
That's very important. Do your own research. That's always a thing. But so far, if a lot of KGBs in my country, like during the protests, I use it to communicate with friends. And if I would have used anything except Telegram, for example, there was local Viber. Maybe you heard of it. I think it was developed by Belarusians. I'm not sure though. Don't quote me on this. And it was, the government had their fingers in there. So any kind of form of communication could have been monitored.
That's the thing. Anything that's got big business in its background also has to abide by laws and subpoenas, and there's always government influence and stuff. And I mean, there's so many companies over the years that have said, we champion your privacy. But we got subpoenaed. Sorry. I mean, I looked
it up, and their operational centers in Dubai, but they are legally headquartered in the Virgin Islands. So which is renowned for having very loose laws and regulations on money and information transfers.
yeah, you definitely need to like
Yeah.
research. But if from my own experience, I can just say that it saved my ass so many times because of the, for example, it has a what's his face, cloud password. So you like put in your phone number, right? It's asking you like, oh, like here's an SMS confirmation so you can log in, like the other ones do. And then here's the catch: if you're logging in from a new device and you installed, it's a built-in feature, a cloud password, what's called,
Yeah.
there is no way to crack it because it's stored away on the servers. And my government tried a lot of times it demanded, it sent subpoenas, and Pyle just told them to go fuck themselves. In fact, the government caught on that Telegram is growing and that people are using it, and they tried to use it to kind of like for propaganda. The government sort of police, what they did, it's been out there for a while, and you can still find like pieces. I think I have archives of it. So what they did, they caught people. The most recent one example was when they forced a Ukrainian woman to take the Trident off her car in Belarus.
What, a Maserati? She had to take the Trident off it?
The sticker. And then they forced her to put the Lukashenko's flag on the car.
Ugh. What? Wait a minute. Who's... Yeah, but who's forcing who to, rebadge cars over things like this? I'm a car person. This is just like, cars should not be political.
Yeah.
They just are, sometimes cars are so beautiful and artistic that you can't be political about them, I mean, look at the VW Beetle and the company it spawned after the war. Right? Look at Volkswagen now. I mean, do we hate Audi because of it? No. Just cars, leave them out of it. Cars are cars. They're the work of engineering geniuses.
Don't ruin the magnificent beauty of design.
Yeah, even me, I love a Lada Niva. That's one of the coolest little 4x4s ever, right? But it really is a Fiat Panda 4x4 turned into a Lada, right? So, but I know these things, but I still don't hate the car, right?
But anyway, to kind of wrap this up, what they were doing, the Trident thing was mild compared to what they've been doing to us. They've been pretty much beating people up and then forcing them to kind of like film them to apologize, like the Kadyrov guys did. And they were posting that on their Telegram channels. And the government was just like spreading that, like, haha, look at that guy, asshole got caught and shamed. And so it's public shaming. And Telegram eventually caught on. And they were like, nope, you're not having any of that stuff on my platform. Bye-bye. And they keep banning them still. There's been like 7-8 propaganda channels that they nuked. So they're kind of like, But Telegram is far more superior than, let's say, WhatsApp or Signal, in my personal opinion. It's just so comfortable. It's okay. I'm going to stop shilling Telegram.
Yeah. I swear to God, if you just got paid for that, I want 20%, bitch.
I know my friends and I would probably get paid too because I love that app so much. And when it's so light, it works.
No, I'm just a massive geek. That's it.
Yeah, me too.
Well, Clapper, coming up, we've got a technology, especially based on like retro tech and how it led to the future show coming up on the Shills. You might want to get in on that. It's going to be some fun stuff. Yeah, oh, well, not today, no, but in the near future, we're just planning it in the background because we want to make sure it's not just yet another drunken chit chat about a topic because we always go on tangents. You never know where the fuck we're going to end up, right? We're trying to.
I would love that. I'm so technology driven. You have no idea. Like people, my friends straight up call me a freaking cyborg.
Yeah, well, see, you'll fit in right away. Starsky, what's your history in older tech and whatnot? Did you start in like the 16-bit era with like Atari and Dragon computers and stuff or whatnot? Like, what was the deal over your way?
So we used to take sticks beat bushes with the sticks, and it was funny like hell. I swear.
But yeah,
Okay.
you know, yeah, when you were younger and whatnot, and first starting, you know, technology wise, what were the first hooks, computer wise, you got yourself into and whatnot? As I mean, with a musician background, you must have been interested, right? It must be there.
Yeah, so my first kinda computer stuff was this Nintendo like crap called Rambo for some reason. I don't know, maybe probably because it was made in China. It was called Rambo, but it was Nintendo. Okay, and I think that I saw a real laptop in like 1996. I was 11 years old, and that's when I started learning English because I was chatting with other people from other countries, um, and yeah, and surfing other sites. Uh, so so yeah, and I think that Clapperjack may remember this stuff like Rambo, Nintendo, something like that. Did you have that?
You mean
Is
the
this-
Chinese not? Chinese
do you mean?
knockoffs?
Yeah, do you mean like original Nintendo NES, the first like the Famicom type one?
No,
I think
we
he's.
did.
I think he's referring to like those knockoff consoles that are kind of like were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
but
we-
is it? But was it a
the thing is-
knockoff of the early ones? Like in China, they even had a Jackie Chan sponsored computer that was just nothing more than Nintendo stuck into a thing with the cartridge slot, but it happened to have a keyboard, so you could pretend to play educational games to meet the Chinese government mandate, right?
I didn't have anything like that. I preferred sticks. It was funnier in my opinion. But yeah, we fought with my brother a lot for that console. We were beating each other like crazy.
relentlessly.
Yeah. And later, we had this computer. I think it was like Pentium 3, something like that.
Ah,
Yeah, and we were fighting. So I would play games, and my brother would study his crazy coding, like I don't know. So I would play some, I don't know, Need for Speed 3, for example, and my brother would come into the room and say, "GTFO, this is my time. I wanna do my shit," and he would literally throw me away, and then I would sneak into the room, turn off the PC, and run away, and he would follow me and kick my ass. It was so cool.
oh,
Can
I
you
just.
see-
We just got a super chat in from DJ Mac. I'm ruining it for Aimee, but I have to because it's exactly what we were talking about. The Rambo console, Starsky, was actually a fake Atari 2600, which is the original like 1978 release for Atari. And DJ Mac says, yeah, I had a Rambo console as well. All right. That's what I was going for. Like what era of it? Because I knew it had to be backdated stuff. Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it was really old one. I think that it had like 99 games installed in it, and like 99% of those games were clones of each other. You know,
Mm.
yeah, but it was kind of funny at first.
There was a version of the original Sega Master System, the really old console from Sega, that was released in Brazil, and it was an all-in-one with the thing and whatnot, and you just push the buttons and plug it in, and it had like 100 games or whatever. And that's exactly the kind of version you got then. Yeah, for sure. I totally get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you had a game where you played like green tanks versus black tanks, and then you had another game. It was a totally separate game where you played the same freaking game, only there were like red tanks versus blue tanks. Yeah, and probably levels were slightly different, but it was the same game completely. Yeah.
Amy's got something here.
Yes, I have a bunch of super chats to read, please, if I can. We've got a donation from Samantha Williams with no message on it for Canadian $40.18. Thank you so much. Level 70 has a funny super chat. This is brilliant. For Canadian $13.99. Did you hear what the renamed Russian McDonald's is called? It's called Tasty Period. It does not translate well into English, but I bet most people will go there once a month. And thank you so much, DJ Mac, for the Romanian dollar, the 25.
Yeah.
It's actually a fake Atari 2600. They had a Rambo console as well. And then we have M2M, our very own Matt, for £10 says we should start a campaign to find Starsky a wife after the war. I'm sure there are going to be plenty of options. Thank you so much, everyone.
That would be the only version of legal human trafficking there could be. All right, we have a cruise ship full of operator Starsky wife wannabes. We're turning this into a TV show. Who will be the winner? He's scared out of his mind right now.
I will pay. I will pay. I will pay you not to find me a wife. Okay. What was the so the analog of McDonald's? Let me try to translate it for you. It's like, it's tasty, period, which means just eat it and don't say a word.
So just eat it, eat it,
yeah,
eat it, eat it.
Otherwise, I will fucking kill you.
It's fast food legalism. Eat it or else.
Yeah,
kind of like that. Yeah, it's you could also say like tasty and that's it, something along those lines.
It's tasty, damn it! Don't fucking say otherwise. Basically,
you know what's the most hilarious part out of all of it, though? They rebranded, they redid the facade of the building, they did the whole new thing, whatever. But they still are using the McDonald's Heinz ketchup kind of pods, I guess you could call them. I don't know what they're called. But what they do, they take a black marker and they just kind of like marker away the McDonald's logo from it, and it's so sad and pathetic. Whatever.
Wow.
I heard they stuffing them in the rations.
I think I'm gonna go try fetching.
I heard they stole or plagiarized the logo.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have another question, probably for Jack. So in April, people could buy Apple laptops in Moscow for about 900,000 rubles. The prices went really high. It's a very high price. It's like, I don't know, it's like 3 laptops in the US.
Wow.
I wonder what happens to their computers and periphery at this point. I mean, are they even able to like change a cooler?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about Apple devices. Here's the thing. It's really shit And that's a very good question, because I cracked open quite a few laptops because I worked in repair. And what Apple does, they're complete fucking assholes. They weld everything to the board. The only thing that's not welded is the fans. And getting a couple of fans here and there, that's not hard. But the hard part is going to be when you actually need microcontrollers, and when you actually need to resolder, for example, RAM
Clapper.
or something.
Clapper. It's even worse on the new M series apples, although you get good performance from it, but the RAM is built into the SoC. Except you want to upgrade the RAM, you better have fucking ordered it from Apple. And the SSD. Yeah, and the SSD in the new Studio, the controller is built into the M1. So when you order your computer with 1 terabyte of storage, the controller is built into the SoC. As such, you can never put in an M.2 storage model bigger than 1 terabyte. It will never work. It has to be the exact same. There's no upgrading it ever.
I think we both watched Linus Tech Tips.
Oh, actually, I knew this already. I'm a previous Apple tech, and I've got insiders in the industry. I'm a really hardcore tech when it comes to like CPU and core components and stuff. But what's going on is Apple's dancing a line that makes it hard to upgrade, but that line gives us performance like we've never had before. We've got a computer that's drawing 140 watts that can keep up with an i9 12900K with like a 3070 or a 3080 graphics card. You know what I mean? And if you know what I just said, that's a $3,000 or $4,000 PC that draws maybe 1,000 watts out of your wall. The equal Apple computers drawing like 145 watts, man.
Yeah, it's good that they're kind of like shit. I hate this word. Compartmentalizing. There's
a really good part to it, but at the same time, you got to buy your graphics card when you order it, and you're stuck with it. There's no buying a new one, right? I love their architecture, but I use a PC right now because I can buy what I need. So I do get it. Don't start, flaming Mac and PC wars in the chat, because nobody here gives a rat's ass. No fanboys, right? We just buy what we need,
Well, in terms of, back to the question, kind of like in terms of repair, it's going to be an absolute nightmare for Apple users, because once an Apple breaks, it's going to be a pain in the ass to find parts. Because, for example, let's say you drop your MacBook on the ground, right, and the frame of the laptop breaks, kind of bends, and the only way to get that frame, you need to either order a new one or find a laptop that's already kind of busted but doesn't have the thing bent, and that can only last for a little while, because they can't order new parts.
But when it comes to like internal frames and stuff, that's the same for any manufactured part. I wonder if we shouldn't leave the tech thing a bit, because I think we've gone too far. We should probably wrap ourselves back around here.
Too nerdy.
Yeah. It's easy to happen. You get a bunch of YouTubers together, and you're always interested in tech in one way or another, because how can you not be and put on these shows? So it does kind of happen. But Starsky, when you go into a shop in Ukraine, war aside, right? Because obviously that could change things. But would you say that your availability of PCs and computers and whatnot is equal and on par before shit hit the fan?
I think it's pretty much the same. Of course, computers and gadgets cost a bit more than previously, but we can buy pretty much anything. Apple production increased in price, but it was always expensive anyways.
Yeah.
And I can say that we have pretty much everything.
I know Well, I know the war has screwed up a few people in the automotive industry because Ukraine is really well known for doing very hard to find wiring harnesses for old cars. And you guys have some master shops over there that do the old school stuff to get people classic car parts that a lot of the world don't have. And as soon as Russia pulled their bullshit, you've got people that are like YouTubers that do classic cars, and they've got projects that are a year and a half old now sitting on the shelf, and they had to get other cars to do because they were depending on your country mates to fulfill the orders, and they can't do it right now.
Yeah, but I can say that even despite the fact that Russians don't have invaders in Russian Federation, but they will face some problems like very soon as well, and they already face those problems. For example, I wonder how many Russian gamers will be able to buy a new graphics card in 2023, for example. And if they are able to buy a new graphics card in 2023, then what kind of games are they gonna play on Steam, on PlayStation?
And graphics card, I mean, Starsky, if you're paying attention, in the last 30 days, we're seeing prices start to come back down because of the crypto collapses and stuff. There's all kinds of cards on the used market now driving the prices back down. Russia is not benefiting from any of that because they're locked out.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And you reminded me of a really funny story. So back in 2008, I worked in office, and one of our colleagues who arrived from the US came to me and asked whether he can buy Nokia, some kind of older phone, but back then it was kind of advanced. He asked if he can buy this phone cheaper than in the US. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So I showed him the prices, and it appeared that in Ukraine those phones were 2 times more expensive than in the US. And he was like, damn, if I knew it, I could make money, and bring some phones here. So yeah, prices in Ukraine are much more expensive than in the US regarding gadgets and stuff, like anywhere on the post-Soviet areas. But again, Russians don't have war on their land, but they have a lot of those problems as well. I think that in 2023, their children will become much smarter because they will start playing good games like chess. Chess develop, thinking and stuff. I can only appreciate that because the dictatorship is afraid of smart people.
Yeah, you have to be. Right?
What games did you grow up playing, like board games or stuff like that, Starsky?
Euro Truck Simulator.
Aside of sticks and bushes, so I played cards. I played chess again. We had some like clones of Monopoly game. But back in my days, we didn't have much games to play, actually. So I was lucky to have a neighbor of my age who had a bunch of, desktop games, like those board games and stuff like that. Monopoly.
Where are we at here? Dave, take it and run. I got a, Riley break, no empty glass. I'll be right back.
I was gonna ask, but you carry on. I was gonna throw out a shill because it's about 5 minutes to launch of my Kickstarter. As you mentioned, the board games and the card games. We're gonna do an after party after this. I just wanted to throw that out there for anybody in the chat who wants to stick around for a lot longer after this stream. I'm going to be going on throughout the night in the UK just to try and shill some interest. I did mention this a few weeks ago, but I don't want to take anything from the stream. That's for after this stream. So if anyone wants to stick around, and then we're going to throw those links out there as and when. I can ask Starsky a question while Dick's coming back, though. We did a segment a few weeks back, which I quite enjoyed. I was actually thrown by my own question. We did a reverse Q&A, if you remember, where Starsky got to ask us some of the questions. And it's great to also have people like Clapper in and some new faces that weren't there. So do you have any questions for us, just briefly, while Dick's coming back?
I have a question like, how do you think if people outside of Ukraine are getting tired of this war in Ukraine? In your opinion?
Yeah, I think they seem to be waning. What do you reckon about that, Dick? I don't know if you saw that question.
I just sat down, didn't quite hear it. I was running down the stairs. Damn bathroom's upstairs. So, yeah.
Actually, I don't think, Dick, were you around a few weeks ago for the reverse Q&A we did?
I might have missed because that might have been that might have been like 10 days where I was just not even connected. It was terrible.
Oh, well, then Dick has to answer first then. Starsky, say it again.
Okay, what am I doing?
Yeah, so the question was, in your opinion, if people outside of Ukraine are tired of war in Ukraine, tired of listening to those news like every day.
Yeah, I would say 25% of Canadians fit into that category because they're the ones that didn't finish high school and they have the attention span of rodentia. And as such, you know, they can only be trusted to vote for the wrong person because they believe all the brouhaha. You hear me, Trumpers, you motherfuckers? But yeah, I mean, those people, sure. But actually educated society and, you know, people who, you know, have more than a rat's ass to give to society. Yeah, no, they're not sick of it at all. They're actually hungry for more real instead of less headline driven nonsense. Because, I mean, let's face it, I'm North American, I'm Canadian, but even I have to endure Fox News headlines now and then, right? It's atrocious. But you know, yeah, some are, but they're the skin bags, the waste of space, the people the trees get mad at for stealing oxygen, right? It's only them.
We've got in the U.S., attention is waning in people. There's a certain portion of people that are getting bored, and it's the people that don't grasp how important this is, or the people that are, you know, our gas prices are going up, and then they start bitching about sending money and weapons over to Ukraine. It's the whole, well, you know, we should be helping our own sort of thing. They fail to realize how important it is to keep Russia out of Ukraine because the stability of that area affects the stability of the U.S. So there are some people, but you still see it in the news. There's also other issues I won't get into here, political issues that are stealing some attention. So it's kind of settled to a medium plateau of interest, but people broadly, I think, while they may not be taking direct interest in looking at news stories and everything, generally are supportive of Ukraine and want Russia to get the fuck out.
I got to give a big shout out to Casmo in the chat. We Texans consider Ukraine a sister state, and it was done in capitals, so I said it with attitude. Well done. I love it.
Thank you so much. Glory to Texas.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and they're a tough bunch of motherfuckers too. And from a musician point of view, when I got to play in Texas, touring around and whatnot, I also met some of the greatest people and the biggest drinkers. Holy shit. These are people who can like have a 6-pack just so they're ready to go to the bar. And then they go to the bar and they drink all night. And at like midnight, they look at you if you're slurring your words as if you're kind of some kind of cream puff, you know. They're Texas are, you know, people that are close to the Canadian heart. We love them.
Where I live, there are just as many Ukrainian flags on cars as American flags.
Same up here. There's Ukraine flags everywhere in Canada. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm right in the middle of the southern.
It keeps surprising me every time, actually, but I appreciate it.
And I mean, this is one of those situations where the two people in conflict, Russia and Ukraine, how could Russia ever look good? And yeah, Wolverines, Breamers, right. You know, UA Wolverines. That's that whole Red Dawn, the original movie we talked about before. Exactly. But when you see the news coming out and you get to talk to the people, I mean, this is social media era. You know, we got like Starsky to hang out with, right? We never had this in Vietnam. You know what I mean? There's nothing the aggressive force the Russians can do to look cool. Nothing except, you know, try to sell their own people bullshit. Well, if anybody remembers the Third Reich, we know how that ends, you idiots, right? Fuck.
Speaking of that, there was a group of people. It's called the America First Pack. That's a slogan that Charles Lindbergh used. He wanted to make friends of Hitler. They're the only people that I know are openly for Putin. They made some news at the start of this thing with some idiot politicians who were praising Putin and everyone hated them.
Yeah, actually, it's just I remember that I made this recent video on I think what was my recent video about? Oh my god, I don't remember. I'm so old.
You had the propaganda of a Ukrainian pro-Russian party. The actual name of that party actually is what they pro-Russian party labels the anti-Russian people here. So I know you didn't know that, but
yeah, so there was another one regarding the Russian propaganda. So people wanted to see more of such content on my channel on debunking Russian fakes. And prior to this invasion, I had the same playlist on my another channel that was in Ukrainian language, but it was basically dedicated to the same topic. Russian fakes, and because Russian bots are commenting a lot on my channel, I have a lot of content to work with, a lot of fakes to debunk, and so in my most recent video, I talked about this 8 years of bombing people of Donbas, because whenever there's news or publication or video about some kind of atrocities committed by Russians, there will always be some kind of bot who will post a comment. You didn't have to bomb people of Donbas for 8 years, and this is your punishment, shit like that. So I debunked that myth using statistics from Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights of the United Nations. And they had this monitoring mission on Donbas since 2014. And they were monitoring all the activities on both sides. There were representatives in the terrorist-controlled territories, as well as on our positions, always. And they basically have information on every shot that was made since 2014, 2015. All that is recorded on audio, photographed, recorded on video, captured on their drones of OSCE and stuff. So Russians, like, if you ask Russians, like, okay, let's assume Ukraine has bombed Donbas for 8 years straight, genocide and blah, blah, blah. How many people died? A lot of them don't know the answer. Some of them will bring you this number of 51, 54,000 people. And they will say, like, all those people were civilians killed by Ukrainian punishers. They call us punishers.
Really?
Yeah, Ukrainian punishers.
Makes sense.
And sounds cool, actually. So the number originates from the report made by this OHCHR. And yes, according to this report, 51,000 people died in Donbas because of this war since 2014. 3,000 of those 51,000 people, 3,000 of them are civilians. The rest are combatants, and they are not killed. It's not like 51,000 dead. No, it's dead plus wounded. So out of that number, because as we know, the number of wounded is usually 2 or 4 times bigger than the number of killed. Out of that number, 3,000 people, civilian people, died on both sides, not in Donbas,
Jesus.
on both sides, in Ukrainian-controlled territories located on the front lines, as well as terrorist-controlled territories. And they are talking about like 1,000 people being killed, shelled, and burnt down using lasers and NATO secret missiles and F-35 Raptors and Abrams tanks and stuff like that. I'm not
Jesus.
kidding. There's video of pro-Russian separatists talking about us using F-35s. I'm so happy they didn't notice my Apache parked on my position. Anyways,
Jesus.
so they're talking about those 1,000 of men killed every year. So according to this report, there were like 26, 27 people dead every year. Like in 2021, there was like 26. In 2020, there was 25 or 27 in a year dead on both sides. And the reason of their death is like one of them was wounded by light weapons fire on terrorist-controlled territory. Another one died from remnants of explosive ERW, explosive remnants of war handling on a terrorist-controlled territory as well as Ukrainian-controlled territory. And so I've been debunking that myth. I've been showing this data, this report from the United Nations that Russians are referring to. It's just they don't talk about the real numbers in details. But still, there are people who say all that is bullshit. Because my uncle, who knows a cousin who lives in Dnipro, he says that his friend saw Ukrainian artillery shelling a village in Donbas.
What?
because they hate those people. And it's like, yeah,
There's
but
there's a whole whack of people from Ukraine that have got off the plane in Canada in the last little while. We have a lot of people that have escaped the fighting to come to Canada. And that's not an easy feat because it's not like crossing a border. You know, we're talking about airplanes and everything, right? And the people that have been like introduced in our community and whatnot in my town, and I'm only in a small town of like, 30,000 people or whatever, but assholes is not the word I would use. I mean, these are people who've settled right into a community where we've got Greeks, we've got people from India and Pakistan and whatnot, and we've got all these satellite communities in this great place that I live. And everybody's just like, hey guys, right on, yeah, they're not jerks.
Yeah. So, but it's like it's different. So it's like the data from the United Nations is a bullshit, because I know a man who saw Ukrainian army shelling Donbas village because they were speaking Russian. So my question to those people is like, can they tell me the difference between the sounds of like 120 millimeter shell and 152 millimeter shell? I don't think so. Can they tell, like when they see an explosion, can they tell where did this shell come from? It's doubtedly, unless this shell was flying and waving like blue and yellow flag, you cannot tell if it's Russian or Ukrainian, right?
Yeah.
So in order to see Ukrainians who were shelling some village, you would have to be on the position of Ukrainian artillerists that were shelling, that were shooting their howitzer or their cannon or their mortar. But you cannot get to positions because they are guarded. And you will have a lot of questions asked by men wearing military uniform, like, what the hell are you doing on our positions? And of course, you will have to look and see the result of this shelling, because in most cases you either don't see a cannon that is shooting, or if you see this cannon because you're so close to it, you will not see the explosion because it's very far. Usually,
Yeah.
you don't see one of them. So that's what I'm talking about. A lot of people don't have full information on their level, because they can judge from only what they can see. Same with me. I can only judge from my information on my level of a press officer. I don't have information on the level of generals and stuff. That's why there's a lot of questions that I cannot answer. And same with a simple soldier who is fighting in his trench. He will have his version of what's going on, but on a larger scale, he may not have the full information.
That's right.
And that's why there are organizations like United Nations that collect such data. There are journalists who make investigations, stuff like that.
Yeah, they don't work for Fox, but yeah. We should check in with Aimee if she's around, because we have a couple of supers. She might not be, and I can cover them if need be, but we'll see here. Oh, she is here. All right.
I am. Yes, please, if I could cover those. These are great ones too. The first one is from Samantha Williams for $34.99 New Zealand. Says, I'm several minutes behind trying to catch up. Sorry. It's okay, love. If this topic has moved on, it's tiring in the sense that it's hard to feel that you're doing enough, meaning her and everybody else all around. Donating and talking about Ukraine is all I can do.
Oh, yeah. So this goes back to the question of, are
Yes.
people feeling overwhelmed with the information and stuff? And
Yes.
what she says exactly alludes, Amy, to what I said. Only
Exactly.
the uneducated plebeians are overwhelmed. The rest of us are hungry for more, right?
Exactly. And we want to keep, the information coming and keep it going because of that. So yeah, definitely. And then we have two from Annette Wagner for both were for $10. So one didn't have a message, but the second one says, not sure if you can talk about this, but Ilya Ponomarev is giving many media interviews saying he's trying to help the cause by broadcasting his radio show in Russia. Is this helping in any way?
Ooh, that's a good one, because we're talking about somebody who's trying to counteract propaganda within the nation state that's leading the attack. Great question.
Wow. Absolutely.
What I can say is that it's very hard to counter that on the territory of Russia, because Russia spends a lot of money, and I'm talking like huge money, like billions of dollars. As of 2018, they spent $4 billion on external propaganda only. And we're not talking about financing bloggers and, black PR operations. It's just $4 billion spent on external propaganda in the media and yada, yada. So I think that we should have at least, if not equal, but at least comparable budget in order to reach at least some kind of results there.
I wanted to ask a question, Starsky, and I also want to ask Fallacy Dave this, because I think this is something that he'll weigh in on. But
well, Dick, real quick, I think Jack, because he's queued up twice, might have something to say on the interest in other countries on the war, whether people are tiring of it or not. You still there, Jack?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. I did want to say something. I mean, look, it's easy to just generalize and say that, people stupid people with small attention span, there are people like that. Yeah, true. But there's also people like, for example, my dad. When all of this started, even in 2020, and all of the hell and nightmares and kind of like almost losing my mind I went through, and he saw that, he kind of just didn't. He's in a way, he's not senile, but he's old, and his way of seeing things is just entirely different. He lives in this little bubbly universe of his own, where he just wants to take his mom to like her what's it called, a house outside of town. What's that called in English? Someone
Dacha.
Like a country house?
Country house, thank you. To the country house, so he and she can plant turnips. He wants to go fishing with his friends, have some beers, go to a sauna. And I moved because I understood that my country is sinking and everything's going to shit. He calls me every day and he asks, "When are you coming back?" Like I kind of like, did this for you here and that for you here. I'm like, "Dad, do you not understand what's actually happening right now? Like I can't come back at all because of what's going on, and you know that." And he's still kind of like it's really strange. His mind is like a little bit misaligned Rubik's cube, and I'm trying to align it into place, and I managed to do that, but then it just kind of like rotates back into a random shape, and it's really hard. It's on top of that also, people are like a light bulb, and that tungsten filament inside of the bulb, it cannot be lit forever. At some point that filament just burns out. And I saw that like with my local kind of Belarusian people here in Poland. I came to this person I know to a store that I visit for like some ice cream, and he works there, and he was like super upset that day. I was like, what's happening? What's wrong? He's like, there's this people, our kind of like, group of people, they're going for barbecues while all of this is going on with the war and stuff. And I kind of looked at him and I'm like, you do understand that when we were suffering in 2020, people went on with their lives. It cannot be helped. The world keeps on spinning, no matter what's happening. They cannot persist this tunnel vision where they just can continuously focus on one thing. It's impossible. It's not possible. Even me, I kind of tuned out too, because I realized I'm going to go insane if I don't kind of minimize this.
I think if we're again going back to cultures outside of Ukraine and whether or not they're sick of hearing it, I really do think you're only looking at the minuscule minority. But I do believe that some of the general populace that are sort of average educated are having their limits tested now and then. And it's not due to their own personal interest or lack thereof. I do believe it's due to the media and their need to have the best headline every time they post something. And it almost becomes like a TV guide listing for the next reality TV show. Right. And that's why I think that a lot of people turn to things more like this these days, people that are more in tune, because we're just kind of sick of that lowest common denominator being treated like bullshit. Commander.
Starsky, Clapperjack. One thing I noticed with my coworkers, etc., is they see, the news about Severodonetsk and the advances that Russia are making. And it's hard for them to wrap their heads around the fact that the longer the conflict goes on, the more in favor it is for Ukraine. Starsky, would you like to explain why that is to help people get their heads around that?
Yes, so the reason why it's in favor of Ukraine is because Russians cannot replenish their troops and vehicles because of sanctions, because they cannot produce new missiles. They pretty much cannot repair their aircraft and stuff. And of course, they're running out of men. Currently, they've had around 109 battalion tactical groups active in Ukraine, and the total number of battalion tactical groups that they can provide for this war is 160. And this number, it includes those battalion tactical groups that can be provided by Belarusian side. So their number of men is limited unless they declare the total mobilization, but they need to declare war first. They are not doing that, obviously, because declaring that will be pretty much the end of Putin's regime.
Country.
Yeah, and they are very, very much limited in that. As for Ukraine, we have possibly unlimited supply of vehicles at this point, unlimited supply of weapons, and of course we cannot run away from our own country, so we will stay here until the end.
Right.
And yeah, and we are currently slowly exhausting Russia in order to start our counteroffensive. That's why
Starsky, I'm not sure that slowly is truly the word there, because we are not that long into a major conflict, and Russia as a whole is ginormous compared to Ukraine, but you're already wearing them out. That's not something
It's
to
all relative.
shake a stick at. That's some real deal shit, man. You know?
Yeah, but we also gotta take into account the fact that they still have plenty of men that are concentrated usually on comparably small areas.
Yeah.
So they can bring like a bunch of artillery brigades in order to demolish a city and stuff like that. And they have a lot of men on that concentrated in such areas. Why it's important? Because we cannot bring our men from other spans of the front lines to reinforce those
That's
spans
right.
of the front lines.
Yeah.
Because they will be undefended, and they have enormous amount of artillery plus ammunition for that artillery. Unfortunately, that's why we need comparable amount of artillery on our side to be effective. But other than that, yeah.
If NATO would actually, and the countries of NATO would step in and just supply a bit more, you could fan yourself out a bit more and still hold it, though, right? And there is a glimmer of hope right now, isn't there, Starsky? It's starting to look good, isn't it? EU, you know, I mean, it's can you imagine with, you know, fuck your threat support, right? This would be done.
Yeah. And of course, so today our troops have liberated the town of Potemkino near Kherson, which is another town liberated. So every day we're taking our lands back. In Odessa, we also liberated another village and the island, the Snake Island, which means that Odessa region is currently freed from Russians completely. So we are making smaller counteroffensives here and there, expecting to exhaust Russians even more. So it's like, you know, they are burning a lot of men for nothing.
Starsky,
yes.
Would you say there's anything worth merit in saying that some of the soldiers the Ukrainians are now running into are maybe not quite as good as the Ukrainians, because you've done a decent job of the early ones that came along, and as such now you're getting faster recruits that maybe don't have the deep experience and training, and that's never going to be a good thing for your opposition, right? Is there anything to that?
Yeah, so basically Russians lost a lot of men due to bad planning. The reason why they had bad planning was, first of all, because Russian planning is not so efficient comparing to what we have, because they're still using that old school Soviet planning that doesn't work in our in modern world. Also, we have eliminated a bunch of their generals and commanders, which is very important because they lack a lot of experienced commanders right now. And that was the reason why they lost a lot of men, because of stupid planning and lack of commanders. That's why we were so efficient, basically, during like first 2 or even 3 months. But the reason that they are still able to take lands is, again, because they have a lot of men, because instead of eliminating more troops that we could basically do, we were targeting more important targets than personnel.
Yeah.
Simply because we didn't have enough artillery to combat their artillery
Right.
and to spend a lot of shells on their personnel.
Yeah. One way to say it, Starsky, that the hit and run media might understand is you weren't going for headlines, you were going for effectiveness.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We've got a few super chats to jump into, but Clapperjack's been waiting. So I want to go to Clapper and then right to Aimee.
I just wanted to ask a small question to Commander. Like, how are your coworkers not kind of understanding? Like,
Well, they
what
don't.
specifics?
Well, they don't understand big pictures. I don't work with the most bright and inquisitive people. They look at the amount of land being taken and they're like, it's bad. They looked at the original case, it's good. Then they looked at their gas prices. They didn't understand about Russia is as far as a nation goes, is the second largest producer of oil in the world. The United States, as far as a nation goes, is the largest producer of oil. They don't understand that when you take away, when Europe says, I'm not going to buy oil from Russia, even though they're still buying it, that affects their they don't understand big pictures. They don't understand that Ukraine is a huge producer of grain. They don't understand we produce a lot of grain in America. Why are our prices going up? It's because we sell grain. Quite frankly, if the big corporate farms could make more money taking all the grain in America and selling it overseas and letting Americans starve, they would. They don't understand this. They don't connect things.
Well, the only thing we can do is to help those people and explain very patiently, I guess, because that's the only way.
That's what I tried to do.
Didn't work.
It slowly gets through to some people, whilst other people, they don't want to hear what you have to say because they have their preconceived notions. We've run into that on the Shills lots of times where the conspiracy theorists have their narratives and evidence be damned.
And they're so they're so locked in, Commander, that they won't let go of anything they're saying in ill regard of anything that can be presented. That's not a healthy situation to be in for yourself and your loved ones, because you might spread it. It's terrible.
Well, it's a lot of it's about the ability to cope with a bad situation. And we've seen it ever since the beginning of the pandemic with different issues where they can't handle the situation. There's such a major life change that some people, like we talked about, you sometimes have to back off the topic to let yourself rest and then come back to it, or, thin out your engagement so you're not getting bombarded with and stuff. But some people just are so unable to handle something that's not part of the picture they expect that they will buy the easy, simple conspiracy and just live in it. So like there's no problem. This is the situation.
That's some fucked up shit, because how in 2022 in modern society have we let our educational system got to the point where somebody who, may not have been the best within it still can live with that frame of thought in the modern day? How have we got there? What the fuck's going on?
We have to dismantle the entire political situation to analyze that, honestly.
Not really. I don't think so. I think as a teacher, I can say that the biggest problem lays in not teaching your kids critical thinking, because that's not a given, that's learned. And
I agree.
If you don't have someone to teach it to you properly, you're fucked.
My son is on the autism spectrum. He's 15 years old. And for a lack of a better word, for people who don't know the terms and terminology, he's fairly deep on the autism spectrum, but he can sort of converse with you barely. And that can be a huge,
Hurdle.
what we were just alluding to there can affect that, but at the same time not. And either, you almost get to a point where you want to lay down some kind of IQ test to make sure that we understand that you understand the basics of life just so you can vote. Are we there yet? Because Trump got elected. Argue.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I see some pretty interesting comments, which make me think that probably some people have to pass IQ test before registering, before being able to register in social media. Be prepared. Ukraine will be divided between Poland and Hungary and Romania and stuff like that. Oh my God. Yeah, so probably that's why they're sending us hundreds of tanks. People don't like, some people don't have this critical mentality and analyzing and stuff. Some people would rather believe in conspiracy theories rather than recognize what happens. Like
my dad.
Yeah,
Starsky, I'll give you a shot here. So I thought I had critical thinking down because, after grade 12 and whatnot, I went on to audio engineering school and, did the master's degree and all this and yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. But in the last few years, I get on YouTube and I start debunking flat Earth with some other people and, UFO stuff and whatnot. And wow, did I get schooled on what critical thinking could really be, because I started applying it to my own life and how I approach certain situations and realized that it's easier said than done. But when you use it on the parts that matter, the times that actually, mean something, that's when, you don't really need critical thinking to brush your teeth. You can pretty much just make sure you do, right? Sorry, Aimee was waiting there.
Oh, it's okay. It's just that I have a couple super chats that I wanted to grab really fast because they were really good ones. So I'm going to grab those really fast, but I can vouch for what he says about the autism thing. My son has it as well and is also fairly deep on the spectrum too. He's going to be 17 in July. Goodness. But yeah.
and it still doesn't take away critical thinking. It just takes more effort as a parent to make sure it's prevalent, right?
Exactly. It just takes going about it in a different way that most people normally wouldn't. That's basically what it is. Just learning new skills and just learning how to work around what you've got. So that's how we do it.
And be patient.
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly. So yeah, and we have some great super chats here. We have one from Danny Carver for $4.99 who asks, Operator Starsky, how old are you? You look like a young man, unlike me, 61 in September. And then we have Donny Boy 73 who for Canadian $5 says, lots of support for you, for Ukraine and Canada, my friends. And then we had Tanuvain who donated Canadian $3 who said, do you have an AK-12 yet? IAEA is concerned about the power plant and Zaporizhzhia because Russians are forcing people to work there and that the plant might be unsafe. Do you have any information on it? Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much for your support, first of all. And thank you for your questions. I'm 37 this year, actually in like 8 days.
Dude, we gotta do a birthday live stream, get a couple of the cats in your unit together and stuff, and well, you know what I mean? Come on.
It's gonna be a very sad birthday because I cannot drink.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, here, I need to speak to your commanding officer. We're gonna fix this.
Yeah, you can drink for me. So
There we go.
Already doing that.
AK-12 sucks. Of course, it's it has a better precision, but we tried this crap, and it sucks in terms of materials and construction. So there's this gas tube on the AK. Wait a second.
Contrary to popular belief, Kalashnikovs are not that good.
They're durable, but the accuracy is not great. I mean, you can take and sling the things in a mud pole and stomp on them.
Okay,
and still fire.
Oh, look at that.
This is the gas tube of Kalashnikov. So when the gas comes through the barrel, it goes into this tube, and this tube pushes the valve. Anyways, so this gas tube in AK-12 sucks balls. I swear, it tends to rot, literally.
Wow, that's not good.
Yeah, and that's why we don't use them a lot. As for the power plant, so at first, first information that we've had, it was a couple of days ago. They shot a missile that flew right over the power plant, which was kind of dangerous. Another news that we have today is that they are trying to dry those cooling tanks on the power plant in Zaporizhia. And what this means is basically we can have Chernobyl number 2.
Fuck.
Wow.
Those sick box. Not this shit again.
Holy. That's
this.
Disregard for life.
that kind of makes the old fucking bone marrow shake, doesn't it?
And the worst part is that my aunt just had her fucking removed. Not the bone marrow, the the thing that's responsible that gets affected the most by radiation.
Yeah.
What's it called? God, the one that produces the one that's responsible for immune system. What's that thing called? Yeah, I think.
I wish Linda Bertelson was here. She would just instantly know. She's one of those medical people that kind of never speaks unless she's going to be a genius about it. And she can talk all the time. So, thyroid. You know what I mean? Right?
Gland.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Thyroid. Yeah. So we had Michael, Will, Sweet, and Benjamin, M, and Sleet throw it out in the chat. Good shout. Good shout. Right on. You got to give them credit when they beat you to it, right? You know, it's 4:42, and at 5 p.m. well, Pacific, that is, at 5 p.m. Pacific, we have an after show that starts, but it's actually the launch party for Fallacy Dave's card games. Right now, he was telling you earlier about it, so we're gonna go into full shill mode right now, and we're gonna launch this shit because the after show is coming up. We're gonna show you some video from Kickstarter. We're gonna show you some pics. Dave's going to take you through the game. And of course, we're just going to get drunk and have fun because that's what we do around here. But Dave, why don't you take it over and tell the fellow babies all about what's going on?
Sure thing. I'll try and keep it brief because there could be, I mean, I could be sitting here for half an hour. So I'll keep most of it for the after party. But basically, we've made a Kickstarter of 3 different adult card games, and I have to stress that it is adult, and you will see why, because we can't see it right now, but we will probably see it in a moment, and it will end up being very obvious as to the nature of these games. They're about sex and relationships. They've got references to pornography, kinks, all the other sort of fun innuendo stuff that you would typically associate with party games. And so, what we were trying to do about a year ago, we sat down as a group of friends, my in real life friends back in southern England, shall we say, and we basically were thinking about how much we enjoy each other's company. It's probably one of the most fun things about certain people, especially in my life, because social media can be very stressful, and you need to step back away from all of these stressful things. And so I looked at this and I thought, actually, I really enjoy things like this, like the Shills, because we just speak freely, we speak openly. And so we wanted to try and create some of these games that allowed you to speak freely and openly. And you'll see in a 10-minute gameplay video the range of shit that gets said and encouraged. But we also thought, playing all these different games, they lacked repeatability. They got stale quite quickly. And so we wanted to try and design these games where it would be different every single time and it would still be exciting and fresh. So we eventually have spent this entire year basically finding manufacturers, doing everything properly, making sure we're making 100% recyclable games and doing things to our own philosophy and not really compromising on that. So now we've got 3 games that have just launched within the past hour on Kickstarter. They are available right now. If people want to know more and want to ask questions, then come and join us in the after show.
All right. Oh, cool. Yeah. And I've got a link going out right now. I am posting it. Here you go. Clicky, clicky, lovey, lovey, click it. But you'll also, at the end of this stream, you'll be redirected to that show because we got that. You know what I'm saying? No, it's because it's that YouTube thing we can do, yada, yada, blah,
and also,
blah, blah. But yeah.
even if people aren't interested, just come hang out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just going to be a shill show where we're bullshitting and all, but we're also going to talk about the games. And if you like hanging out with us and who we are as personalities, you're going to love these games. So you should come over and check it out because promise you it's going to be worth it. Right?
It is very Shills, to be fair.
Yeah.
It wasn't the angle I was going for, but it is. It really is.
So on, yeah. Actually, that's premature, and but we'll go into that. But on that note, I think we should spring it on Operator Starsky to give us a big heads out and a shout. The floor is yours. Give us an outro, Starsky. Take us out of this. What do you think, buddy?
I think Putin sucks.
Woohoo! Here, can I do this one?
Could it be
Even Satan has standards.
He's in good company.
Yeah, we should do a round table. Who wants to host? Dave, you're hosting the round table because it's your after show. Fuck you. Here, spring it on you. You're doing it. All right.
Ah, shit. Okay, who wants to go first? Let's go for Jack Clapper.
We got one last super chat up, actually, that we need to kill, and then we can roll into it.
Yes, please. We've got Samantha Williams for $34.99 New Zealand. Quickly before I go off again and to actually do work again, I wanted to say that I have no connection to Ukraine, but I've been following since day one. I fully believe in Ukraine and have no doubts about their victory. Slava Ukraini. Thank you so much, Samantha.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Samantha, since she's found our channel, is truly proven herself to be one of those people who will totally lay it on the line, attitude-wise, personality-wise, and come through crystal clear and show herself as a true supporter of Ukraine. We love you. Awesome. So, Dave, take us around. You're pinned to the ground. It's your turn.
Sure thing. My mute button for some reason hasn't been working tonight, but it's the least of our struggles. Clapper Jack, what did you make of tonight's show?
Well, I don't really know what to make of it, but I like it. I like being here. I like talking to you, and I really appreciate discussing these things because it helps. It helps, and I hope it helps other people too.
Well said. We do love having you as well. Just from a personal perspective, it's great to see you back and forth with Starsky because you're in a very similar situation.
Totally.
And I would like to add something real quick, Jack. If you saw that message in the chat here in the Google Meets, I've thrown you a link to a song that was written by my best friends and dedicated to Belarusian protesters.
I'll
Yeah, we gotta
I'll
check
put
it
it
out.
over on Discord. Awesome, I got it.
I already grabbed it. I put it in
Okay,
my
cool.
save folder. I'll check it out after the stream.
Awesome. And let's go to Commander 401. Commander, what did you think of tonight's show?
Awesome stream, covered a lot of topics, had a great time, and just you, Operator Starsky, Clapperjack, you guys stay safe, and Slava Ukraine.
Slava Ukraini. Let's go to Aaron Reece. Aaron, what did you think?
It was a little bit of an odd night tonight, a little bit of a different pace, some crazy stuff going on, but you've got those streams out there that shall remain unnamed that do the kind of machine gun Q&A, and they dig into the tactical situation, things like that. And I think we do a better job here when we're a little more free form and dig into what's going on the ground, what it's actually like to be in Ukraine, rather than just who's firing what at what. And that's probably the most important thing that we can cover, so that it generates an empathy, I guess is the best word, for what's going on over there. It's not just being a war hipster, not to disparage Starsky, but not
Aaron,
just
it throws the human factor back into things. We're hanging out with the people that are doing it, right?
Yeah, precisely. And it's not just, because people tend to be hobbyists about it. What weapon's going here? What's getting blown up? Well, I'm kind of more interested in how the people are dealing with it, how it affects daily life. So I think we do a much better job of hitting that, and that's we can do it without Starsky. So as always, thank you for being here, and Slava Ukraini.
Absolutely. I loved your background, Aaron, before your camera died. But
yes, it's very pretty, but I have gremlins, evidently.
Dick, let's go with you. What did you think?
Well, I love these evenings where we get together, we get to be ourselves and do our thing, but we also get to hit some heavy topics because, on the Shills, we don't always hit heavy topics. We usually go for the more comedic side of things, right? We're pretty well known for that, but I really like digging deep and getting into things. And when it comes to doing it with, one of your friends like Starsky, that's pretty cool in this kind of situation. I consider myself quite privileged, and I Starsky, to everybody that's in your family that's older than you, that helped raise you to be the person you are, Slava Ukraini, because they did a great job, man. You're one of the good ones, buddy.
Thank you so much, bro.
Awesome. Let's go to Aimee. What did you think?
Oh, thank you. I think it was a great night. We covered a lot of good topics and everything, and it was really good. And it's good to hear, the recent updates and everything. So that was good. So I want to thank, Operator Starsky for coming on. I want to thank Clapperjack as well. Both of you stay safe. We're rooting for you both. Hopefully everything will, return to some sort of normalcy pretty soon. Hopefully, cross our fingers. Let's hope for that. And I want to thank everybody in the panel for coming as well. Thank you. I want to thank everybody in the chat for coming. Thank you so much. All of your support and your kind words have helped so much throughout all of this. So this is great. Thank you.
Time.
Thank you.
And we should give a big shout out. We've been able to do some pretty good numbers to Ukraine humanitarian relief for donations through the show. It is going very well. Are we going to announce it like dollar for dollar and stuff? No, that's just kind of not how we do it, but we're doing amazing. And thanks, everybody. It's awesome. So on that note, we've got to kill it, and we're heading over to Fallacy Dave's big fucking release because we've got a Kickstarter going. We've got an amazing set of card games, and for the adult and all of you that show up for our stylus stream, you fuckers are gonna love this. So let's kick this shit into high gear, get the fuck out of here, say goodnight, and I'll see you on the after show. Good night, fellow babies.
Good night, everybody.
Hasta la vista.
Take care, everybody.
still here? It's over. Go home.